What's going on, everyone? This is the Fraser Laveay podcast. I am with an incredible host, the most unique host we've had on the podcast, because Raj, who is from 1023 Now Radio,
1023 Now Radio. There you go.
In Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Of course.
Go Oilers.
Yeah, and we have not spoken in like 24 years since we graduated high school. When we started this podcast, we didn't even say a word. I texted him before. I was like, hey, let's just jump into the podcast, and this is how we'll reunite and come full circle.
Just quickly, man, after not seeing you for 24 years, I have to say, I think we might be aging the best out of our grad class here.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I think so. And it wasn't because we don't like each other. It was just you moved away, I moved away. And so there was really never a chance for us to bump into each other when we're back home or whatever.
Yeah, life happens, man. Married, new house, and just here we are.
I love that.
This is great.
And from small town Kamloops, now you're leading the world in that. What kind of radio station is it? What kind of stuff do you talk?
It's 1023 Now Radio. It's about join the conversation. Remember how we used to be into Seinfeld during drama class and all that?
Yeah.
It's stuff like that, little moments throughout your day that you have conversations about. It's great. It's a fun gig. It's super awesome. But hey, talking about sports isn't something I get to do on the radio. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And so everyone knows this is going to be the Canada Soccer Podcast, as well as sprinkle in some Olympic men's basketball. Very exciting. And yeah, and I think, because as you probably remember, I like to make everything about myself. We started doing announcements in high school for the yearbook.
Yeah.
And I would like to say, I was doing the announcements. I was like, oh, Raj, come, we got to do it for our drama class. And you were part of that. I don't know if that spurned you now being a radio host, but I'm going to take credit for it, or at least a little bit of it.
You know what? Just take all the credit. Why not? It's fine. It's okay. It's great. Take it all.
Do you remember any of those? We did Seinfeld stuff, No Soup for You. Do you remember that one? I remember it vividly.
And you know what? I don't even think the teachers knew anything about the soup Nazi or anything like that either. It just went under the radar, and we're okay with it. We're good.
I still remember we came out to class because you would pretend you're like it was incredible. Yeah.
This is great though, man. I mean, you were a goal scorer in high school. I played on the defensive side, mainly on the sidelines, but
you were there, man. You were there. We would play pickup hockey as well, just street hockey.
Yeah, this is nice. Remember the game kickball, elementary, all the way through here. But hey, still athletic, just a little less cartilage in the knees, and we're good.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm getting a knee replacement surgery because of said cartilage this summer.
Oh my, Fraser. Holy.
Dating ourselves even more.
Up here we're aging well. The rest of the body, not so much.
Exactly. Well, let's get into it then. And Canada Soccer, incredible. I mean,
great performance. Today I woke up, I don't know about you, but I woke up a little less frustrated with the game last night. I mean, going into Argentina, they had a puncher's chance, and they didn't play their best. That wasn't Canada's best game by any means. No. They had some chances, but overall, taking out Argentina in a semifinal in the Copa America was a pretty tall task to do. And I think, for the most part, the showing, they did well. They did pretty well. For a new program that's developing, still quite young, getting to the semifinals of the Copa America was a huge, huge accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just talent-wise, they're bringing on, I think, the 78th minute, they brought on the leading goal scorer in Serie A as their garbage time sub, where we don't have anything like that.
Well, Martinez is the top goal scorer in the Copa America, and he didn't even start.
Yeah.
They brought on Alvarez, who scored his second goal against Canada, right? So that just shows you the depth that Argentina has. And when you read the stats after the game, that Argentina has only lost 2 games in their last, 62 or 65 games or something like that. So they've won more trophies than they've had losses in that time.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big, tall task for Canada to try and accomplish that. So I think they can be pretty proud with their performance. And isn't it great being frustrated this morning that they probably could have had a goal, right? If they had some finish. And I think that's been the most troubling thing throughout the tournament for Canada. is their lack of quality in the final few touches when they probably could have scored that extra goal or two, right? To make it a bit more interesting.
Yeah, and I think that shows obviously the Argentinas in the world, the Brazils of the world, they've had a football at their foot since they're out the womb kind of thing. So they have those final perfect touches where we over dribble, we take 2 touches instead of 1, just a few things, which I mean, it's not the end of the world. We're not a soccer powerhouse. So I think it's great to see what we're doing.
Not yet. And I'll say this about the Canadian program with Jesse Marsh. I had a few questions about when he was hired, about what we were going to get. But if this is Jesse Marsh's Soccer Canada after 6 or 7 weeks with the program, getting us to the semifinal, I'm looking forward to what's potentially going to happen a year down the road when we're playing in the Gold Cup again. And 2 years after that, when we're hosting the World Cup, that's going to be pretty significant if it goes this way. And now it allows him more time to find potential depth in Canadian players, right? To seek out players that are playing in Europe that potentially could qualify playing for Canada. So I'm really excited about the prospect of where this program is going and what they could be doing. And the great thing for him taking over right now is how many young stars aren't even at their full potential just yet. And he gets to develop that, right? Like we can talk about Alphonso Davies, playing for Bayern Munich, potentially on a move to Real Madrid, right? Well, that would be absolutely massive. You have Jonathan David playing in France, and apparently rumors now that Bombito and
Chelsea.
Cornelius could potentially be making a move to France as well. And Jonathan David, yes, moving to the English Premier League. And Ismail Kone just made a transfer to Marseille. So the growth of the core is really important right now. And I think outside of that, Canada really needs to try and develop and work on getting that extra depth of talent. So, when we have an opportunity to try and bring on an Alvarez as a substitute, that would be the dream. Then that's 2 or 3 years down the road. But it's great seeing these strides coming through.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just the talent. And I think just being, nice to our team. Living in the US, once they got knocked out, it was just hell and brimfire. I don't want to be pessimistic, but Canada's never going to be France in soccer. Canada's never going to be Brazil. Canada's never going to be Argentina. Just it's not something we live and breathe. It's Canada's 3rd sport, 4th sport, is the USA's 5th sport.
Yeah.
You're just never they live and breathe soccer everywhere. It's the only thing you do. Obviously they have other sports, but it's just knowing that we're never going to be always top 3 in the world, but we'll be 10th, 15th, and there's a chance we can kind of blossom up and, be an underdog, be the Iceland, be the Moroccos of the world.
And I'm okay with the underdog story, because who doesn't love a good underdog? Look at the Euros right now. Georgia making it through, Romania making it through, right? Slovakia and Slovenia there, right? So I think this is the year of underdog in sports, and Canada was right there with them too. And, that win against Venezuela was huge. I will say this, though, about the talent development. We may never be a top 10 consistently or top 5, somewhere around there, right? But I think what I really have a whole lot of promise for is the development of the Canadian Premier League here in Canada. The gap between, in your days playing in university, there wasn't anywhere to go afterwards. Still a bunch of talented kids, just need a bit more time to go. And now you have the Canadian Premier League that closes the gap a little bit, develops more, where players can go off and play in the MLS, where we've had a few players now in the Canadian Premier League who have gone off to play 2nd division in Europe somewhere. So acquiring that talent is a major, major step, and it's going to take time. And I think the key takeaway for me after the game was Stefan Eustáquio, when they were talking about him, and he said, we need that depth. We need that depth going forward. And this is a step 1 now, that's going to pay dividends in year 5 or year 6 afterwards. So I'm really looking forward to that development, because now people have places to go.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, just the basketball and soccer, where it's come from when I left high school to where it is now, is just so beautiful to see kids from Kamloops gain unreal opportunities that never was an option back when I was playing. Just, like you said, 15, 20 years ago, there was nothing. You'd kind of play for your local semi-pro-ish league after college, and that was really it. So it's beautiful to
Yeah.
see everything's going.
And this kind of development here is going to be a great thing. And hopefully there's a women's league equivalent to grow the Canadian women's program more too. And but as far as the men's team right now, they're doing a lot of great things. But you can start to see in the game last night where you have Alphonso Davies, you have Jonathan David, and what it's like for them playing against this talent versus everybody else right now.
Yeah.
And there is a gap in that Canadian roster right now. That gap can close, but we need more of that development and more of these players potentially going to Europe. And an exciting player for Canada right now, too, I wanted to put some spotlight on was Jacob Schaffelberg, the Nova Scotia kid. That I think he might be one of the young stars out of this tournament.
Yeah.
And I think that kid probably might be playing in Europe in a couple of years or so because he might outgrow the MLS real soon. He put himself on the map here with this tournament with still a game to go too.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the fastest white man alive, I think.
I think so. And he's it's beautiful watching him run because he's got that hockey mullet too. But I heard in an interview he's never played hockey before. He can't skate.
Oh.
So
wow.
Yeah, I know. Kid from Nova Scotia, from the hometown of Sidney Crosby, but he said he can't skate or he can't stop. So I guess running is better for him.
I would love to see what his birth process was. Like, no, I'm not playing hockey. I'm playing soccer. Dad was like, Dad must be some big soccer nut, or I wonder.
I have no idea, but the fact a kid from Nova Scotia can get to play against the greatest of all time, Lionel Messi, and he's the great stat that I saw last night was he's second in the Copa America and created chances for, only behind Lionel Messi.
Wow.
And that's a phenomenal stat for any Canadian player. I know we're getting into the metrics and stuff there, but these are the stats. Yeah, these are the things here that we should be trying to grow more of and trying to find the next Jacob Schaffelberg, trying to find the next Alphonso Davies and going from there. And I think the Canadian program is on its way to do that. The other important thing I want to say is not a lot of people are talking about, but just with getting to the semifinal with Canada, they made $8 million for the Canadian soccer program.
Wow.
And considering how poorly funded, I mean, I personally don't know any drug dealers, but I believe some drug dealers have better books than the Canadian Soccer Association, right?
Yeah.
So this $8 million is a nice, unexpected injection of money from advancing from the group stage. So hopefully, put in the right hands, it can make this go a long, long way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point as well. And I think a big takeaway there is you're saying basically Schaffelberg is the next Messi. Canadian Messi, I think will...
Canadian Messi, why not? Let's go for it. So, yeah, it's exciting, though. It really is exciting because this is the stuff that we dreamed of, right? Like we never had a Canadian team like this growing up in our high school days, right? We had hoped, we had prayed, and when the end of the day we're pretending we're Roberto Baggio back in the day, bending it into the top corner at our old high school. We weren't talking about any Canadian players, and what's exciting now is I have young nieces and nephews who are pretending they're these Canadian players, right? So development, the growth of the game across the border here, and it's really growing and it's piquing a lot of interest. So I really feel like come 2026, Canada, they've set the bar high now with the Copa America, and now it's time to exceed that. And I feel like they can really, really do this.
Yeah, and another great point. I don't think us growing up, there was one jersey we would buy as kids. It's not like we could have afforded it anyways, but like, was there a player that Nash was a little bit later, like 5 years later when he really blossomed? Like in high school and growing up, there was no one.
No, and I think around that time, there was Craig Forrest, who was a goalkeeper. He was playing in Europe at that time, but I don't even think you could go to a hand sport or a local soccer shop and find anything that had a Canadian jersey or a Canadian logo on it, right? So we weren't even sure that there was fully a program that existed. So it's nice to see that now, especially here in Edmonton. They had a few watch parties, and it was great seeing the bars packed with Canadian fans. And the interesting thing is when you scroll through Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, is there was people who were putting out there in their messages saying, I'm not a soccer fan, but, and it was followed by a message, I'm giving this a shot. I'm not a soccer fan, but, right? And it's really nice to see that kind of encouragement that there are people out there who are willing to give this a shot. And the success of the program means more will follow. And I think Canada's on their way there. They're doing everything right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, our generation, we're kind of the beginning of soccer moms, soccer dads, and now we're the kids who are becoming much smarter. Like our parents didn't know anything about soccer. They were soccer moms and soccer dads, but they knew how to bring oranges, at least my parents.
Yeah, orange slices and a little bit of Indian food for me to keep those calories going.
Yeah.
And away we go from there.
And
but
it was kick and run soccer. It wasn't, nice
play
passing.
that long ball.
Yeah.
Get it high and get it out.
Play it to your fastest player. That was basically all we had.
Yeah, shortest player getting that. And now there's so much more connectivity between the players and the program because of the success of certain players, right? And I know we're going to be talking about basketball later, but I wanted to throw this comparison out there too. And what Vince Carter did for the Toronto Raptors when he first came in to grow the game, and with not intent, he just was a really good basketball player, and Tracy McGrady included in that too. It just exploded at that point, right? There was all these youth programs, and I feel like our golden generation with Davies, David, and so on, they're going to create the same effect. And we'll see this, 5-10 years down the line of this boom. And I really feel like there is going to be a boom in soccer academies, the growth of the sport, and everything from down to the house level to the semi-pro level. I feel like the Canadian Premier League is going to expand at some point too. So this generation may not enjoy all the success where Canada, is going to be competing in future semifinals. But I think the next generation might be the ones to be able to carry that through in that pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even to build on that, I'm excited that while I'm not positive we're ever going to be in a top 10 in the world, I know we're going to be a top team in North America and in CONCACAF. Like the fact that I have full confidence we can beat the USA, we can beat Mexico was something I never thought I would have. I think we are better. Give us 10 games against any, we'll win 6, we'll win more. So it's nice that we're really the kings of CONCACAF, or at least you can argue we are and will be the kings of CONCACAF kind of thing.
No,
so
you even saying that just gave me like goosebumps right now, right? And it's nice hearing that we're not just a team at the table anymore. We're actually other teams are going to come up with a game plan. They might fear coming to Canada to play us in a home game, right? And we went to Azteca, and I believe we drew there during the World Cup. And
I was there.
You were there at that game.
I was at that game, yeah.
What an environment, right? And
my God.
We pulled away with a draw out of that, right?
Yeah.
And that was spectacular. And I was fortunate enough to see the rubber match here at Commonwealth Stadium in November, and to see Commonwealth Stadium sold out to support these guys. And Canada won that game 2-1 on the way to qualifying. There was something percolating in the air there where people thought, okay, they're playing at -12 and it was packed out there, right? So
that was the famed Azteca game, wasn't it?
The Azteca game, and Sam Adekubi jumping into the snowbank, and he should be on a part of our heritage moment right there, right? So it's a lot of good things happening there. But as far as being the kings of CONCACAF, it starts with the Gold Cup. Win that Gold Cup, take out USA, and it's great for me seeing Alexei Lawless and Carly Lloyd just trash talk the Canadian program, not wanting to see them get out of the group, not wanting them to beat Venezuela, and then playing Argentina. I'm sure they had a little bit of a smile on their face, but at the same time, the U.S. were 3-0, and that was supposed to be Canada, and same thing with Mexico too. So I really feel like Canada will be the kings of the North here when it comes to the CONCACAF region, and it's exciting. It's very nice to even saying it out loud. It doesn't feel real. This isn't a video game we're talking about here. This is real life, So I think when it comes to this region, we got a new contender, and it's Canada, and it's sure nice to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we used to live in the land of the Costa Ricas, the Jamaicas, the Panamas, and now I have no worries that we're not going to beat them 9 times out of 10. I'm sure we will lose to here and there to a Panama, to a Nicaragua or whatever, but knowing that we're the big dog is such an incredible feeling. And I think just as equal to or better than the USA, which obviously being the USA's younger brother, smaller brother, we don't get to come out on top on them on miscellaneous sports that often. So it's great for the country.
It's nice. It's nice being able to pull some of that pie away and get us getting a bigger share of it too. So It would have been nice to see more Canadian fans at the Copa America, but from what I hear, ticket delegation was absolutely atrocious for the Canadian fans. But we travel well and we support well, and it's nice seeing these little subtle intricacies in the game that are growing with the fan base and others taking interest in it too. And again, the success of the program, the success of the team right now is paying off huge in this country. Hockey will always be number one. CFL might even be a little bit ahead at some point, right? But Canada's really growing this game pretty well right now, and it's thanks to what this program is putting together for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking overall, we talked over some players who stood out, which Shackelberg, obviously incredible. I think we have the fastest 3 players, maybe even 4 in CONCACAF, if not the world, which is exciting.
Yeah.
We're just an exciting team to watch. We're not boring. Even if we are losing to Argentina, at least the first half was fun. The second half was kind of shit. But
there was a player that I really missed yesterday, and I thought he could have been a difference maker. Unfortunately, he picked up an injury during training, and that was Tejan Buchanan.
Yeah.
And when you talk about speed, that guy's a road runner. He's, having him, Schaffelberg, Davies, like that's a lot of speed to burn right there too. And it was unfortunate that he got injured in training because he's playing for Inter Milan right now. And I don't know if that's the right fit for the team, for the style of play. He may have to find a new home at some point too, but he's a phenomenal player. And I just don't think we've seen the best of him yet in the Canadian program. He's had flashes. And I think there's going to be a time in 2026 where he's a player in the World Cup that everybody's talking about for Canada. Players to watch going into that tournament. Obviously, Ismail Kone played really spectacularly. There's a few other players, though, that have yet to decide where they're going to be playing and who they're going to represent. Now, one name I want to throw at you, because in a few years, if this comes back, I'm taking all the credit for this one, okay?
Yeah.
His name is Promise David. He just made a move to Belgium. He's going to be playing in the top league there. He has ties to Canada, but he also has ties to Nigeria. I'm hoping he gets lured to the Canadian program. He's a 6'5" center forward, and he's a real game breaker. I feel like under the right team, the right coaching, and it's hopefully with Canada, knock on wood, but I hope he comes, because this kid will be a strength of attack and a huge, huge target. So I'm hoping in the future, 2026, even at the Gold Cup, that we see him in a Canadian uniform. But keep an eye out. The name's Promise David. He's playing in Belgium, and I think he'll be playing in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe in the next couple of years too.
Nice. I love that. Great, good insight. People are getting excited.
Yeah, I feel like a scout. The Canadian program can't afford to hire me, though. They got no money.
Yeah. Team Canada, hire Raj. We need him.
That'd be the
awesome.
dream.
Yeah.
That would be the dream. But again, we touched on it before, but there's a lot of youth on this team right now, right in that age range of like 22 to 26. And this is why I have, that tremendous optimism that going into 2026 of what we'll be able to do. And it might be tough to predict right now for that Gold Cup, but I really feel like Canada's playing in that final as well too.
Yeah. And I think I love the thing about Davies and great players that people don't understand. Like, I've been around, I'm not calling him Tom Brady, but I've been around Tom Brady, and he has like an aura. And Tom Brady created Wes Welker. He created Julian Edelman. He created all these players that would Gronkowski be Gronkowski without Brady. So Davies, of course, is not, but I'm just using his an example where the great players can really rub off on everyone else. So Canada's never had a professional like him who plays at Bayern, is going to Real, who, whether it's dressing room habits, food habits, how he talks, how he handles himself, how he practices, that comes on down to everyone else. So it's nice we have someone that everyone can strive to be, can learn from, versus just a similar player. Like, oh, I play with him in MLS. I don't give a shit what he does. You know, does that make sense?
No, you need that player that comes in commanding and setting the bar. And there isn't a player who's got more trophies to their name in that locker room than Alphonso Davies. And he's played along some really great players in Bayern Munich, right? And he's played in those Champions League games against Real Madrid. He even scored against them. So him coming in, and my favorite story about Alphonso Davies will go back to John Herdman, the previous coach. And this is when they were still in the World Cup qualifying, is they had, I think, 2 or 3 games going into Central America that were critical points. And the coaching staff were mapping it out at that point of, we can win this game. We might get a draw here. We can try and get a draw here, but just come away with points. And he went up to that chalkboard, apparently, and this is what the reporter said, is he crossed that all out, and he says, we're winning every game. and just to say something so bold in front of the entire locker room at that point, I think it just switches from, we're not just here to keep a warm seat, we're actually going to go through this. And I believe Canada on that trip ended up taking 2 out of the 3 games there, which is phenomenal, because winning soccer games in Central America is a pretty tough ask. And they went on the road and they've done that, right? So yeah. I think right now, as far as leadership and him being a captain, he's a great choice. And I think around him with Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, relying on their experience too, Stefan Estacio playing for Porto, they have a really good core of leadership. And this is why I believe so much in this group and what they're doing and what they're going to be able to accomplish. As long as Jesse Marsch keeps this program going, there's a lot to look forward to. So the other thing is here, you were just talking about Davies, is I had a few people ask me, where do you think his best position is?
Yes, I'm glad we're talking about that.
Is it at left back? And in the Argentina game, I think part of it was around, maybe you might feel the same way too, but I felt like the fatigue and the lack of depth caught up with the team in the semifinals. They were okay for the first 20 minutes or so, 20, 25 minutes, and then they kind of fell flat after that. Seeing Davies not engaged into the offense is tough. You need him up there, but he just couldn't make those runs. Now, I'm wondering if that's going to be the position that Jesse Marsch settles at. And we saw him play like a 4-2-2-2 system. And when they defended, they were more of a 4-3-3. I'm curious to see if Davies eventually is going to move up to that midfield. And if Marsch is actually going to play like a 4-3-3 press. Right now, they have the back line playing a high line. And they did get caught. There's some errors that happened with that. Argentina's first goal was a great play by Alvarez to sneak in behind the line, and that's the cost. That's a high risk, high reward of playing that. But I really feel like at some point we'll see him more up in the offense. At least I would like to see that. I would like to see them play more of a 4-3-3 attack. And I feel as though Canada showed a little too much respect to Argentina yesterday when it came to that final third. And when you hesitate against a team like Argentina, they'll capitalize and counter really, really quickly. And I think that's a big lesson that they're going to learn. But the aggression in showing offense is something that I'm really enjoying more so with Jesse Marsch compared to John Herdman. This is why I think Jesse Marsch is going to do a whole lot of good for this program. I think the key is, though, finding the right spot for Alphonso Davies. And it might be left back. We might both be wrong here, horribly wrong. But I feel like Alphonso Davies attacking with the ball with his speed causes a whole lot of chaos for anybody who's facing him, or whether it's club or whether it's country.
Yeah, and here's the thing, it's tough because we don't have depth. So it's like, well, we need defense because, the better teams are going to be coming at us, and Davies is his best position. But we just don't have the talent to have a talent such as him wasted as a left back, where Kone had a fine tournament. He's still so young. I don't like Kone right now against the best team. He dribbles so much. He over dribbles. He takes 8 touches versus 1, where Davies in the center mid, or even I guess a left wing if you wanted, where Kone plays center mid, but he just can calm everyone down and do the right play more often. So even if you're saying a left mid or a center mid, if he's only an 8 out of 10 at a center mid, but he's a 10 out of 10 left back, I think it's still more valuable that we put an 8 out of 10 at left back, whoever that is, ex-player, but we have him in the mid just making the right decisions, calming the ball down. That speed, like once he gets dribbling at you, is scary as hell. He can defend, he can track back kind of thing. I noticed a lot he was playing everywhere. He was playing left back and he was playing left mid at the same time, which you can't keep up. And against Netherlands, their goals came down his side because he was up the field, which is not his fault. He has to do that. He has to carry us in that method. But I'd rather him be at a position as a center defensive mid or a center mid just box to box. And then he's got 4 or 5 people behind him. When he's up the field as a left back, he's only got 3 people. And he's got a third of the field that he normally covers is wide open for a team to kind of get in there and and take advantage. So,
well, watching him play in Bayern Munich, he has that support around him, right, to make those runs, right? They play a different system there. And the one change in the midfield that I would like to see is, you're talking about Ismail Kone there and how many touches it takes. I would really like to see a defensive midfielder come in and just clean it up behind him, so he doesn't have to, right? He doesn't have to make those extra few touches, where he could just transport the ball, turn and touch and go. And the thing is, his speed is very deceptive. I didn't realize how quick and fast he was with the ball last night, which is a great option. But you don't want that to be your go-to all the time. And the reason why I'm suggesting a 4-3-3 going forward, with potentially Jonathan Azario hanging back there, is he's potentially capable of doing that, but opening up Kone to play a more offensive role, Stefan Eustáquio playing a more offensive role, and somebody be able to hold that defensive position where if a counterattack does happen, they're there. Having that security blanket might also benefit Davies on that left side moving forward, having that kind of coverage, right? But there's a player who plays for, I believe it's for the Vancouver Whitecaps. He's been injured, Sam Adekubi. He's quite good. But him getting to the next level, he played in Turkey for a little while. He's playing in the MLS now. I feel like at that left back position, he can be a good player when you're talking about that 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Whether he's able to take that next step and become that opens up many more options for the Canadian program and Jesse Marsh. So again, we're talking about the depth and hoping and praying that there's something there. But this is going to be something for Jesse Marsh now to figure out. He's had 6 or 7 weeks with this team. He's seen them. He's got them to a semifinal, hopefully a third place finish between, Canada versus Uruguay or Colombia, whoever wins that semifinal today. And I really feel like this is going to be something going forward where Jesse Marsh is going to be able to get the best out of the Canadian teams going forward with even the depth.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't mind, another player that I just wanted to mention, Ali Ahmed. This kid came on as a substitute yesterday. Speed to burn, lots of skill. I think the kid might be, 120 pounds soaking wet, holding a breath. Might need to put on some weight, but the skill's there. This is another kid I know they have high hopes for in the Canadian program. One of the best passers in the entire MLS, and he's great at creating chances and stuff too. So these are guys that are going to be relied upon heavily, and the Jesse Marsh is going to be watching their growth with a microscope to see how well these guys are doing. But as far as showing right now, I think they're doing pretty good, and we'll probably see some of these younger guys in that 3rd or 4th place game, depending on who we play, just to see what we have. And why not give them an opportunity to see what they could do against another juggernaut in South America?
No, absolutely. It's going to be exciting to see how we do. Just like you said, is there anything else that the state of Canada soccer, or anything else you like to see before we kind of move on to basketball?
No, I just think if with this Canadian program, this is more than just hope now. This is actual belief. And this isn't a false sense of confidence. This is actual confidence that, hey, we can hang with the best and we can play with the best. And it's an exciting time to be a fan of sports in Canada, but it's also an exciting time if you're new to the game and you want to give it a shot. This is an exciting team to get behind. There's going to be a lot of talent, and you want to be on that bandwagon before everybody else jumps on in 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. And hope Buchanan gets better. I'm glad it was like a snap versus a torn ACL, because I think those are easier to get healthier, quicker for. He's always been my favorite non-Davies player for the last 3-4 years. He's been incredible.
Yeah, so just a special shout out to a player by the name of Alistair Johnson too. He's played every single minute in this tournament on that back line for Canada. He's an engine. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he gets so much air into his body, but the guy's incredible. He plays for Celtic out in Europe right now too, and they love him there. He's a fan favorite. So
again, they won the double. I have friends who are Scottish, and they hit me up. They're like, "I love him. He's great." Who are Celtic fans. He plays just like they should in Scotland, real hard and aggressive, and
he's got those crazy eyes, man. The crazy Canadian eyes. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. And then What do you before I just came to me? Kamal Miller. What do you think about him not playing? Is that injury based, or because he was an MLS All Star 2 years ago?
And he played with Messi too in Miami
Yeah,
as
played with
well. But
Messi. Yeah.
I think what Marsh was trying to do was inject more youth into the program. And that's why he went with the pairing of Bombito and Cornelius on that. But there's nothing against Kamal Miller. I think he had a pretty good run playing with Steven Vittoria in the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, the speed of Cornelius though and Bombito and their pairing, like they work together pretty well. And I'm excited to see where this duo is going to go going forward.
Yeah.
But I think this is more of a youth movement right now. Not saying Kamal Miller is old or anything, but I think his role might be coming off the bench. We may see him start in this third or fourth place game to round things out. But he's been a great player for Canada. I think he'll continue being a serviceable player for Canada. I think the future, though, is in those two players there, Bombito and Cornelius, on that back line.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Fair enough. I definitely miss him. I have my issues with Bombito, but like you say, he's still young. Cornelius played outrageous all tournament, so it's gonna be exciting.
Walked away with Messi's jersey last night. Good on him for calling that quick.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, building on the excitement of Canada sports is Canada basketball, and just its place in the last 10 years has been incredible since really Wiggins. Obviously, you can argue other people before that. We Nash way back, but once Wiggins hit the scene, it seemed like people have just been coming out of the woodworks, from the Shea Gilgeous-Alexanders, the Jamal Murrays, on and on and on. We are from Kamloops, British Columbia, everyone. Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, there we go. I was waiting for that.
Yeah. His dad, I was a grad assistant under his father at Thompson Rivers University. So that was cool. I got to work under him for a year, and to see his son grow into what he's become is amazing, from a small town in the what now, like you're saying with soccer and how you can do more. The basketball program in Kamloops alone is head and shoulders what it was, when we were growing up. It's I'm glad to see we're catching up with the world on how to develop people, how to develop talent.
And Kelly runs a basketball program in Kamloops there, and I know that because a few of my cousins were in that program as well, right? So just overall with him, genuine, kind human being. I've never met him personally, but he took the time to sign autographs, get photos with my family and all that kind of stuff too. So I'm really looking forward to Canadian basketball during this Olympics here. I know we're in the group of death. Yeah. It's going to be tough. Our opening game against Greece, Giannis, like that's going to be rough.
It's not even the group of death. It's the group of massacre. It's the worst group I've seen in any sports of all time.
You're clicking through the rest of it and just like, really? Like Canada? Yeah. We couldn't have got one of the other teams from the other group, minus USA, of course. But it's a weird thing to say that I'm not really afraid.
Yeah, absolutely.
The expectation changed for me after they won bronze in the FIBA World Cup.
Yeah.
And not to say it wasn't unexpected, because we have talent in the NBA, and not just talent, all-stars, guys who are really, really good at what they do. And it's nice to have a starting lineup. You mentioned Steve Nash. Steve Nash, I think the last time we saw, oh my gosh, this came to me. The last time we saw Canada in the Olympics was in 2000 when Steve Nash was playing there. We finished 7th. That was an awful time. But now there's actual quality talent. Our starting 5 is from the NBA, right? So
we're the second best odds to win behind the United States. It goes the U.S. at like minus 380, and then I think we're plus 700, something like that. Then Serbia and France right behind us at around 10-1.
I really believe, like, Canada has offense, and I really feel like with Jamal Murray, and I feel like he's going to lead the way. But I really feel like if Canada's going to get through the group stage, everything's going to be on the defense there.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be on Dylan Brooks. And I know he's kind of that pest, but I like that.
Oh, you need it.
I like the swagger Canada has. And yeah, he talks a lot of trash, and sometimes he gets called out for it or gets thrown back in his face. But Canada needs that. And it's nice that we have that and we can back it up. And I know going back to that FIBA World Cup, that wasn't the U.S. team that's at this Olympics, right? But to take on Greece, to take on, if we make it out of this group in the quarterfinals, I'm not really worried about any other team. I just want Canada to be Canada and go show them what we got. We got a whole lot of skill here, and it sucks not having Wiggins there. Zach Edey opted out to work on his training, and it sucks not having a big man. Those are two potential stars. Well, Wiggins a star for sure.
Yeah.
But even with that, losing two guys, you look at the rest of the roster. We're still pretty stacked. We're still pretty good.
On the perimeter defensively, I mean, Dort is one of the best defenders in the NBA. SGA is one of the best defenders randomly in the NBA. He can guard multiple positions. He's up in the top 3 in steals, I want to say. So he has a great defensive record. And then Dylan Brooks, again, one of the best defenders in the NBA. So in a game that's primarily shooting in the Olympics, I think we're great to defend shooters. So. And then offensively, SGA, the second best player in the league last year, arguably the best. It's wow. We've got the fact we're not scared of Giannis. I mean, we
don't mind this. It's just allergies.
You're good. we should be scared of Giannis, of course. But I mean, the Greece team not easily. They could beat us. Spain could beat us. And who's the other one in the group? Australia. Australia could beat us. But on paper, we should dominate Australia. We should beat Spain, and we should beat Greece. So that's the fact that we're saying this out loud is absolutely unreal.
I think if Canada goes 2-1 in this group, we're through. I don't know how it works with the same record, if it's going to be the point differential or anything like that.
So they do first and second, and then the best third place finishers, like the best 2 third place finishers, move on. So I mean, barring an absolute disaster, we would be moving on.
I feel like Canada at this point, we're going to do some damage here. And it would be so great for this program to walk away with a medal here at the Olympics. And, one name that I'm hopeful for, and I was hoping he would have a better run last season with the Raptors, is RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
I really want this to be a coming out party. I'm hoping this is a taste of things to come for the Raptors too. And he showcases himself really, really well here. But I don't think it's beyond saying that Canada could potentially walk away with the bronze. It would be great playing U.S. in the gold medal game, and it's easy to say that the U.S. are going to be playing for gold, but that's a stacked roster too. And I think Canada, depending on how groupings work out, we really have a shot at this.
Yeah, I think really just luck is what we need on the who we meet in the semifinals. So I would love if somehow my wish and my dream is Serbia and USA are on the other side, and then it's us in France, Germany, whoever else, because Serbia, I think, is going to be, I think they're way undervalued because in the FIBA Americas, they're the best team. Even though they lost to Germany, they're the best team, hands down, watching them. And that was without the best player in the world. Europeans just play the game so much better. It is a European form of basketball. They have smaller courts, smaller three-point lines. The ball bounces different. The ball's smaller. The USA always shoots terribly, even though they have the best shooters in the world, because it's a whole new game. So I think I'm really nervous of Serbia. France with Wemby and Gobert is going to be tough, but we're still better than them on paper. But yeah, USA, Serbia, stay away from them as long as we can, and I think we're looking golden.
I like the scheduling right now for Canada, because when you're looking at Greece, Australia, Spain, and that's, I believe, the order that we play them. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with Spain playing Spain last. I'm glad it's not the first game up, because you lose that one against them, but you win your first 2. That's fine. But I really feel like in this kind of sense, when it comes to offensively gifted, Canada is. Defensively gifted, Canada is. They have all the makings of putting on a few upsets here and advancing far in this tournament. But when it comes to the officiating, that's a different style too from what the NBA is, right? There's not a familiarity really with the whole lot of players, and things get called different. And I'm curious to see what happens, because if Canada medals here, this is quickly going to be becoming, basketball is already a big sport. We got the Canadian Elite Basketball League here that's growing, which is a whole lot of fun to watch here. But, we talked about 2 sports here that are usually down the pipeline when it comes behind hockey, right? Yeah. And I feel like if Canada can really get a medal here, show well here, they're going to close that gap on hockey pretty quick.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, if Canada doesn't medal, it's a disaster, which who would ever think we'd be saying that? I think we have a chance to win gold. Obviously, at 10 games against USA, the USA probably wins 6 or 7 of those. But one game, it can easily go either way. And USA has their own problems. They're old, who they're going to play, the rosters, the lineups. It's just, I think the USA isn't as head and shoulders above Serbia, above Canada, above France as they ever have been in their lifetime, let alone this year. It's going to be interesting.
And I read this morning that Kawhi Leonard opted off the team and I'm not sure who they replaced him with and how much of a difference that's going to be. But USA is still USA. They're older. They can still shoot. They got, like you said, the best shooters in the game. If they don't win a gold, it's a complete disaster for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a phenomenal team. It would be great to walk away and pry that gold away from their hands and make them lose twice to Canada in 2 major tournaments. But again, like you said, it'd be great if Serbia and USA were on one side of the bracket. They played over there, and Canada had an easier time in that semifinal.
Yeah, and I mean the Olympics too. It's especially if you love basketball, it's the greatest Olympics it'll ever be for men's basketball, at least up until now. After, it's gonna be great, but the France team is exciting to watch with Wemby. Canada is exciting to watch. USA, of course, Serbia. Then you've got Giannis with Greece. Germany is randomly really good. So where it used to be kind of a 1-horse race or maybe a 2-horse race when Argentina was good for a little blip, now it's 6, 7, 8 horses that all could potentially win. Super exciting.
This is probably the closest gap that the world has ever closed in on US, right? When it comes to that. So it'll probably be, out of team events, probably the one sport that's probably watched the most out of all of it, because the amount of talent that is going to be there. And I'm looking forward to it. And it's great with how much talent there is there. I still feel like Canada is under the radar right now, and I think that's a perfect place to be. Yeah. And especially being in that group of death. But Canada gets out of that group, look out. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Exciting stuff, man. Exciting to be a Canadian sports fan. We have a Canada sports podcast. Think about that. We actually can talk for fun about it versus...
We're not talking about hockey for 4 hours here. I didn't even talk about the heartbreak of the Oilers losing in 7 here, So this is okay. I'm still depressed about that. But you know what? Canada's showcase here in soccer has been a nice way to mend that heart. Looking forward to the basketball. Looking forward to the Canadian women's team defending their gold in soccer too, right? So it's nice to see them turn the leaf from Christine St. Clair, who was phenomenal for the program. But there are other rising young stars like Grosso coming up here. So it's an exciting time, like you said, to be a sports fan in Canada. And, we'll do another podcast again when the Oilers win the Cup.
Absolutely. We'll have to do one maybe mid-Olympics, a little recap. I think you've been a great...
potentially. I'd love to do that, man.
A great guest, Raj Dhami. Share your radio station again, how they can listen to you.
102.3 Now Radio. Greatly appreciated here in Edmonton, #1 in Canada. Let's go.
All right. Thanks so much, Raj. And we'll catch up. I love seeing this is a great 24-year reunion.
Cheers, buddy. Let's not do it. Let's not wait another 24 years.
Yeah, all right.
Take care, man. Bye.
You too.